Chapter 861. Uphold Justice. Yu Chenhai's laughter was bright. The sincere expression on his face made it seem as if he already knew everything about what had happened here. Just like he had said, he knew that his family member was the one at fault. However, Su Ming did not believe it. No matter how strict the rules in a family were, they would still be protective of their own blood. Besides, his attitude had changed completely from a person who had a somber expression on his face and had seemed to want to attack at any time to test him without asking him anything and without trying to understand the situation just because Su Ming had executed a divine ability. If there was something strange, then there definitely was something wrong going on. A guest? Su Ming asked lightly. Yu family is one of the many families in Black Ink Planet. We have our own auction hall, and it's one of the top 3 middle-sized auction halls in the planet. Fellow Daoist Su, if you're willing to become our guest, then you will receive 30,000 crystals per month as an offering. You will also receive the white jade plate, which will allow you to obtain discounts in our auction hall and receive honorable treatment. We will also provide you a cave abode within our territory. There will be sufficient spiritual aura in it. You can request from us whatever you need. As long as it isn't a clone, we will agree to all your requests. The Yu family will also not tie you down in any manner. You may leave at any time you please. You will have freedom in all your actions, and we won't need you to do anything on usual days. You just need to lend a hand during crucial moments. Every single time you help us, we will also offer you additional rewards. Fellow Daoist, what do you think? Yu Chenhai asked with a smile. Su Ming was the only person in his eyes, and he did not even look at the old man from his family who was sealed. In fact, in Yu Chenhai's mind, Su Ming, who had a seal that could seal a cultivator in the middle stage of World Plane Realm, was far more important than most other people. Even though Yu Chenhai did not have the right to invite someone to become their family's guest and the recruitment of guests was incredibly strict in all families, it did not matter to him. He knew that only family elders had the right to invite guests and those guests' backgrounds had to be thoroughly investigated. But when he thought of Su Ming's sealing art, his heart burned with eagerness. As long as Su Ming agreed to it, he could investigate his background on a later date and could use his own resources in exchange for the status of a temporary guest. Fellow Daoist Yu, aren't you afraid that I am a person with ulterior motives? Aren't you treating this as too much of a child's play by hastily inviting me to be your guest? Su Ming's expression remained the same as he smiled faintly at Yu Chenhai. A glint appeared in Yu Chenhai's eyes, and the smile on his face grew wider. As he shook his head, he wrapped his fist in his palm toward Su Ming. It is only expected that you would be doubtful, Brother Su. I have indeed been rash in my actions. Once he said these words, Yu Chenhai hesitated for a moment. When he looked at Su Ming once again, he spoke in a decisive manner. Brother Su, I won't hide from you. I don't have the right to invite you as a guest, but I can invite you to be our temporary guest. Even if you do have an ulterior risk, I am willing to take this risk. I will take this gamble and believe in you. Yu Chenhai's expression was incredibly sincere as he bowed deeply towards Su Ming. Oh, let's hear it in detail, Su Ming said flatly. I might be a direct descendant of the family, but my status isn't high. Thanks to the kindness of the older generation, I have finally been given the right to host an auction. However, there are too few people by my side who can help me, and I also lack a person who is skilled in laying down seals. That is why I've thought of convincing you to be a guest once I saw your sealing art. Please forgive me for not being honest just now, Yu Chenhai said sincerely. He could tell that Su Ming was not trying to get closer to him by saying these words, because Yu Chenhai had only just learned that he was going to host an auction, and it was impossible for his competitors in the family to arrange a stranger who had extraordinary power to get closer to him in such a manner. More importantly, it was by pure accident that he was relocated to this place and met Su Ming. The person who was originally supposed to come here was not him, but his father. He was merely coming to this area in his place, and his father, who was a family elder, would naturally not have let his son be harmed. Besides, he could tell from some clues that Su Ming did not know just how important sealing arts were in Black Ink Planet. However, there was also something off about this. After all, the first attack Su Ming had delivered was to cast a seal. You need a person who is skilled with seals. Su Ming looked at Yu Chenhai. Brother Su, This must be your first time in Black Ink Planet. There are quite a number of people who know a few sealing arts in Black Ink Planet, but only a few of them can seal cultivators in the middle stage of World Plane Realm. With this sealing art of yours, you would be valued highly no matter which auction hall you went to. In fact, if someone acted as your recommendation, you could even be a valued existence in the 3 large auction halls. Forget the fact that those family members of mine would not be able to invite a powerful warrior like you to be our guest. Even within the Yu family, only 3 people are capable of doing such a feat as yours. If that is the case, then what should I be afraid of? Brother Su, please help me, I will definitely reward you greatly. Yu Chenhai looked at Su Ming sincerely as he waited for his reply. Su Ming pondered over his words for a moment before he stated slowly, "You still haven't told me why you need those sealing arts." "To seal the treasures that will be auctioned. This time, I will be hosting the auction, but I don't have the resources to ask for the assistance of the 3 guests who are skilled in sealing arts in my family. I only have with me a few guests who are under the command of the older generation with whom I share my blood, but they might not be up to my satisfaction. This time, I will be putting a number of treasures from the alien races up on auction, and I will need a powerful warrior skilled in sealing arts to seal them so that they will not undergo a transformation," Yu Chenhai quickly explained. In truth, he had only told Su Ming about a fifth of the truth. It was only natural that he did not tell him everything, that this time, Yu family's auction would be the first official competition among the people of his generation. There were 6 auctions in total, and there would be 6 different people who would host them. All of the older generations were not allowed to provide them with too much help, and it would entirely depend on their own abilities on how well they could organize the auctions. This would determine the 6 people's positions in the family in the future. The fights both in the open and in secret have already started a long time ago. In fact, even the auctioned items during the auction would be determined by their abilities. If they managed to bring to their side a cultivator that could seal those within the initial stage of World Plane Realm, then they could apply to auction off treasures that would require people to seal these treasures. If they managed to bring to their side a cultivator who could seal those in the middle stage of World Plane Realm, then they could apply to auction off even higher quality treasures. Yu Chenhai was certain that if he could auction off treasures of this caliber, then his chances of standing out among the other 5 would be incredibly high. As long as you agree to it, then I am willing to give you 5 million crystals as thanks in advance. Once I complete hosting the auction, I will give you 10 million crystals extra to thank you. Brother Su, don't worry. The very first rule in Yu family is that we must fulfill our promises. Yu Chenhai wrapped his fist in his palm once again. Right when Yu Chenhai finished saying these words, the unconscious bald crane by Su Ming's side opened its eyelids to reveal a pair of eyes that were shining with a brilliant light that was akin to the light of crystals. It was so excited that its body began trembling once again, eager to immediately agree to this matter. However, just as it was about to agree to the matter in Su Ming's place, it saw Su Ming glaring at it, and it immediately swallowed its words, but its heart was already bleeding in pain at the loss. Crystals, oh my crystals! When the bald crane put on a dejected expression and looked as if it had suffered injustice, a focused glint appeared in Su Ming's eyes. He did not expect that this family in Black Ink Planet would have such financial power that 10 million crystals would seem like a small number. This was a great difference compared to the other planets in the barren lands of divine essence. Based on his experience, he could tell that Yu Chenhai had not told him the full story. However, the general picture he had given Su Ming should not be fake. At that moment, as he opened and closed his eyes, a smile appeared on Su Ming's lips. All those from the Yu family will definitely fulfill their promises as long as they gave their word, you say? That's right. This is the rule in Yu family. You do not need to worry, Yu Chenhai said with a smile. Is it the same for everyone? Su Ming looked to the side. Yu Chenhai hesitated for a moment, but still could not truly grasp what Su Ming meant. It's the same for everyone. Su Ming let out a fake cough, then lifted his right hand to point it towards the old man he had sealed by the side before he spoke in a relaxed manner. This person had promised to give me 1 billion crystals just now as an apology. Brother Yu, since you're here and you heard him make this promise, you should be a witness for me. As Yu Chenhai was momentarily stunned by his words, the old man who was sealed but still had his ability to hear widened his eyes and began struggling violently. Anger appeared in his eyes, and it was so great that it looked as if it could burn everything around, making him look as if he would definitely cry out in rage with all his strength if he could break free. There was also despair and resentment amid that anger. It was a despair that came from his soul as well as a resentment that came from his heart, and they almost drove him mad. The bald crane's eyes went wide, and its breathing quickened. Its body trembled in agitation as it looked at Su Ming again. Suddenly, it felt heartfelt admiration toward Su Ming, and felt that he had become incomparably great. Well, damn me. I thought that I was devious enough, but I didn't expect this. I honestly didn't expect this. This Su Ming usually doesn't reveal his real character, so I didn't expect him to be so sly. He just promised 10 million crystals, but this Su Ming said it was 1 billion. That middle-aged man named Yu Chenhai wants to bring Su Ming to his side and will definitely act as a witness. This is. He's too unbelievable. Devious. Truly devious. Little devious Su. He's even more devious than I am. Looks like I'll have to learn from him. Yes, I'll definitely master this, and I'll surpass his abilities. 1 billion. Yu Chenhai was momentarily stunned before he instinctively asked again to make sure. The eyes of the two people behind him also went wide, filled with a strange expression. They naturally saw that there was something off about this. They had never seen such brazen extortion in their lives. Brother Yu, didn't you hear with your own ears just now that this person promised me 1 billion crystals? Could it be that he was lying to me? Su Ming frowned and let out a cold harumph. I was thinking of becoming your guest, but if this person had so shamelessly lied to me, then I'll have to rethink this. Yu Chenhai could only laugh wryly. He cast a pitying glance at the old man, who was almost going mad in his despair but could only struggle and not speak, then immediately nodded toward Su Ming. That's right, I heard just now, but this person should not have that many crystals with him. Don't worry though, Brother Su. All his savings will belong to you, and if it's not enough, he will pay with his life. Once he said these words, a resolute and ruthless look appeared in Yu Chenhai's eyes. He's just a cultivator who forcefully rose to the middle stage of world plane realm with the use of a treasure from the alien race, and he won't be able to improve even the slightest bit for the rest of his life. He's also a member of the extended family. Even if he's under father's command, it'll be fine to sacrifice him. Yu Chenhai had already made his decision in his heart. When he looked towards Su Ming once again, his impression of him had changed by far too much. Thank you for upholding justice, Brother Yu. Then, when will we head to Black Ink Planet? Su Ming smiled faintly. Chapter 862. The Shamans reappear. O endless galaxy, I want to praise the great little devious Su. His deviousness is a light that the galaxy cannot conceal. His deviousness is a dream that all manner of lives in the world cannot hope to obtain. O boundless universe, I want to praise the little devious Su who is even greater than me. His deviousness can conceal the universe and cause the galaxy to turn black. His deviousness can cover all manner of living, causing all the people's hair to turn black. His deviousness also symbolizes my determination. Little devious Su, continue showing off your devious nature and infect all manner of lives with your deviousness. I will be by your side and walk down this black path. The bald crane looked at Su Ming's back with a pious expression as it followed behind him. During that moment, it looked up to Su Ming with unparalleled admiration. In fact, in its eyes, Su Ming was a light that would point it towards the peak of the path to get even more crystals. The bald crane was almost in tears. Those tears were due to it being touched, to have found someone walking down the same path, and the excitement of having its ideals resonate with someone else now that it had found someone who was even more devious than itself. The bald crane's excited thoughts and musings echoed in Su Ming's mind. No one else could hear them, but Su Ming still felt odd. He let out a fake cough, and under Yu Chenhai's invitation, stepped into the relocation room with him. Yu Luo and the old man were naturally taken away by the other two people. As the relocation rune shone with a brilliant light, booming sounds echoed in space, and the people disappeared. Su Ming might seem to have left with them in a relaxed manner, but he had not relaxed his guard even a single bit. At the instant the rune was activated, he had made preparations to attack immediately if anything went wrong. After all, To other people, the manifestation of Su Ming's level of cultivation was rather indistinct. He seemed like he was in the initial stage, but also like he was in the middle stage of World Plane Realm, and they were unable to tell which was the truth. Unless someone had witnessed Su Ming engaged with another person in a battle of arts with their own eyes or saw him bring out all his power in the form of pressure, they could only guess his level of cultivation based on what they could sense. Even the old man who had been sealed and extorted could not tell what Su Ming's actual level of cultivation was. He could only guess that Su Ming might be in the later stage of World Plane Realm, but he could not be certain about it. It was much less so for Yu Chen-hai, which was why it had become Su Ming's hidden tactic. Once he fused with divine essence, he could execute the terrifying power of those in the later stage of World Plane Realm. This was also one of the powers he possessed that made him dare come to Black Ink Planet. The light from the relocation rune blocked his field of vision, and as the light gradually faded away, Su Ming sensed the power from the relocation rune reverberating in space. The booming sounds in his ears gradually became weaker, and at that moment, Su Ming immediately spread his Atman. The world around him instantly appeared in his mind. They were in a towering hall that had 9 pillars of crouching dragons around them. On each pillar was a person sitting cross-legged. There was no aura spreading out from these 9 people, which made it seem as if they were dead. Su Ming did not sense any danger, but he did not pull back his Atman. When the light from the relocation rune completely disappeared from his eyes and their figures showed up in the hall, Su Ming lowered his head to look at the ground beneath his feet. There was a complicated relocation rune on the entire floor, and he could vaguely see the word Jade written indistinctly at one point. Su Ming could not see anything else wrong in the other areas of the rune, but he did not know much about runes. If Hu Zi was in this place, he would definitely be able to tell with just one look where the core of the rune lay. Welcome to the Yu family. Yu Chen-hai remained friendly. When he spoke with a smile at Su Ming, he extended his right hand to show him the way forward. Brother Su, I will take you to where you can rest first. I still have some things to discuss with you later. This way, please. As he spoke, Yu Chen-hai became the first to walk out of the rune. Su Ming nodded in agreement. As he walked out, he swept his gaze across the 9 people who were sitting cross-legged around the rune. These people are the guards of the rune. They practice a unique cultivation method and do not have any signs of life about them. The only thing remaining in them is the aura of death, but each of them can bring out the power equivalent to those in the middle stage of World Plane Realm. Yu Chen-hai smiled faintly and offered an explanation. It was not without the intention to show off. This place is where your family is located, so it's only natural that you do so. Su Ming's expression remained as calm as ever. Yu Chen-hai did not notice that a barely noticeable glint had appeared in Su Ming's eyes when he looked towards the 9 people just now. Perhaps other people could not find any clues about them, but Su Ming had sensed a hint of the shaman's presence from these 9 people. These 9 people did not practice any unique cultivation methods. They were shaman puppets that only soul catchers could create. Just what level of cultivation had these shamans reached to be able to create shaman puppets at the middle stage of World Plane Realm? When Su Ming averted his gaze, he suddenly found that he no longer felt that Black Ink Planet was an unfamiliar place. Instead, he found a sense of familiarity to it. This did not mean that he had come to this place before, but because he had sensed the shaman's presence. I didn't expect that there would be shamans in this place. Why would they be here? This race was born after branching out and evolving from the Berserkers. That's right, the Berserkers were once one of the alien races in the 5th True World. There are plenty of other alien races within the vast divine essence star ocean beyond Black Ink Planet. Perhaps there are also shamans there. By the looks of it, the first god of Berserkers, Xianxia, should have been the first person to venture out and search for the entrance to the 5th True World. Then, could he also be in the barren lands of divine essence? If he is, then, is he alive or dead? Is he on Black Ink Planet, or could he be in divine essence star ocean? Su Ming had made many connections between various thoughts from the shaman puppets. All these things caused him to develop great interest towards Black Ink Planet. It also seemed to have formed a connection with the land of Berserkers in his memories. He stopped pondering over the matter. At the moment he walked out of the hall, he saw blue sky and white clouds. This was the first time he had seen such a blue piece of sky in the barren lands of divine essence. Most of the sky in the other cultivation planets was dark and dim. Even those planets that did not have a dark sky would have muddled and clouded colors above. Only the sky in this place was as blue as a piece of silk, so people could not help it but look up. A gentle breeze lifted Su Ming's hair. The wind was refreshing, and there was even a spiritual aura contained within it. With one breath, it felt as if all pores in his body had been opened up. It had been a long time since Su Ming had felt this sort of wind against his skin. This was a completely different place compared to all the other planets in the 4 great true worlds. This was like paradise. There was a smile on Yu Chenhai's face at that moment. He might seem calm, but in truth, when Su Ming walked out of the room, he had been observing him. He might not have been able to see the glint in Su Ming's eyes when the other looked towards the 9 puppets, but he had seen him looking at the sky and taking that one breath instinctively. These were just minor details, but Yu Chenhai had always believed that minor details could determine everything. From these details, he was certain by 7/10 that this was the first time Su Ming came to Black Ink Planet. Su Ming sucked in a deep breath and said slowly, "This place is completely different from all the other planets I've gone to." More accurately speaking, Su Ming had never been to a normal planet. He had previously been in Yin Death region and was later sent to the barren lands of divine essence. All the planets he went to were barren wastelands. It could be said that Black Ink Planet was the first planet Su Ming had ever stepped into. "Brother Su, since you've decided to stay in Black Ink Planet, then you will be a cultivator in Black Ink Planet from now on. You can have everything here permanently." Yu Chenhai smiled and became even more certain in his heart that this was the first time Su Ming had come to this place. "Brother Su, let us head to your lodgings first. I still have some things I would like to discuss with you." Su Ming nodded and averted his gaze from the sky to follow Yu Chenhai into the distance. Wherever he went, there would be tall towers all around. As Su Ming sent his Artman outwards, he found there were quite a number of places that repelled his presence. His true level of cultivation was not as high as his physical bodies. That was why his Artman was much weaker than of those that belonged to the later stage of World Plane Realm. Once he scanned the area, he pulled back his Artman and no longer looked around. This simple scan had allowed Su Ming to see that this was a gigantic manor, and it was built on a flat piece of land. There were faint figures of lush, green mountains in the distance. Soon, Yu Chenhai stopped next to a small courtyard, outside a double-story tower. "Brother Su, please treat this place as your temporarily lodgings for now. I will go report to the older generation of the family that you are my temporary guest. If everything goes smoothly, then I will be able to help you obtain the plate immediately, but if things don't go smooth, then you will need to be tested. I will have to trouble you for this. I hope you will not mind." Yu Chenhai wrapped his fist in his palm and bowed towards Su Ming. His expression remained sincere. "This won't take long. A decision will be made by sunset. During the process, try not to venture out. I hope you won't mind this offense. As for the 1 billion crystals, I will ask someone to handle this. Soon, someone should be here to give you the crystals." Yu Chenhai was worried that Su Ming would be displeased and provided detailed explanations. "I will remain in the room." Su Ming cast Yu Chenhai a glance. He did not harbor any dislike towards this person, and since he had been polite all this while, Su Ming nodded. When he saw Su Ming agreeing to stay in his room, Yu Chenhai smiled and bowed to him before turning around to leave. Su Ming stepped into the courtyard but did not enter the tower. Instead, he sat down cross-legged on the grass. It was quiet all around him. Occasionally, a gentle breeze would blow past him. He looked at the sky as if he was meditating, but also seemed to be deep in thought. Gradually, he forgot about the flow of time. The Duke of Crimson Flame manifested beside him and bent his body slightly, keeping a vigilant eye on the surroundings. The bald crane was lying by Su Ming's feet. Its eyes were moving about, though no one knew what it was thinking about. However, from the occasional drop of saliva that would fall from its beak, all those who saw it would definitely be able to tell that it was definitely thinking about something related to crystals. Xiao Huang was still sleeping in Su Ming's storage bag, but all of its injuries had already healed, and it should wake up soon. 2 hours later, the Duke of Crimson Flame's eyes sparkled, and its body gradually turned indistinct. However, its gaze was fixed on the door to the courtyard. After a moment, the sound of knocking on the door could be heard. Su Ming lifted his right hand and swung it, opening the door to the courtyard. A young man walked in. He was one of the two people who had followed Yu Chen Hai previously. There was an incredibly respectful look on his face. Once he placed a wooden box and a storage bag before Su Ming respectfully, he bowed and left. The eyes of the bald crane immediately went wide, and it charged towards the storage bag in excitement, but before it even got close to it, the storage bag flew up on its own and landed on Su Ming's palm. When the bald crane saw that the storage bag was taken by Su Ming, it changed directions and pounced on the wooden box to quickly open it. At the instant it did so, a bloody stench spread out, for there was a human head contained within it. It was the head that belonged to the old man who had promised Su Ming the crystals. Su Ming cast a glance at the head, then scanned the storage bag with his Artman. 17 million crystals. Is this all his money? Su Ming put away the storage bag and ignored the bald crane who was giving him a bitter look. He closed his eyes and meditated. Damn it, so many crystals. What should I do? What should I do? When the bald crane saw that Su Ming was not paying any attention to it, it immediately clenched its teeth in anger. Darkness gradually covered the sky. The bright, blue sky that stretched to the ends of the horizon just one moment ago was soon hidden by dark clouds. When the sun was about to set, there were numerous dark clouds above. When the muffled sound of thunder rang through the air, it looked as if rain was about to pour. Su Ming opened his eyes. When he looked at the sky, the door to the courtyard was pushed open, and Yu Chen Hai walked in with an incredibly sullen expression. Brother Su, these are the crystals I promised you. They've gone overboard. I'm not hosting the auction anymore. Yu Chen Hai brought out a storage bag. He was feeling incredibly resentful at the moment, and if he had not been suppressing his emotions continuously just now, he would have burst out a long time ago. Calm down. When Su Ming said these words calmly, he averted his gaze from the sky, and his eyes met Yu Chen Hai's. 1. In the original version, Su Ming is actually supposed to be Little Black Su, which means that he has a black heart, but it doesn't mean that he is evil or emotionally cold, per se, just means that he is devious, which is why you have that turn everyone's hair black thing. It basically means that he is so devious that is turning everything black. 2. Jade in the rune. Jade is written as, and it is the meaning of the Yu family name. Chapter 863. Swallow's Feathers. Yu Chen Hai had been in a gloomy mood originally, but after he cast Su Ming a look, it was as if everything before his eyes had disappeared, and the only thing that remained was the other's eyes. The sun, moon, and stars were contained within his eyes. The three celestial bodies grew larger in Yu Chen Hai's eyes before completely replacing his world, making him feel as if he was in a galaxy. There, he was as insignificant as an ant. When he was compared to the galaxy, all of his frustrations became insignificant. They were not worth feeling frustrated over. At that moment, he could see snow floating down within the galaxy formed by the sun, moon, and stars. It made him feel that everything was so hazy that it felt unreal. However, when that snow landed on his body, the chill spreading out from it made him feel as if he was in an ice cave that would last for eternity. He felt a frigid cold fill his entire body and heart. That cold did not chill him to the bone, but froze his body and even soul for a moment. That pause calmed his heart, and Yu Chen Hai sucked in a deep breath. He instinctively took a few steps back, and when he looked at Su Ming again, the other had already shut his eyes. Yu Chen Hai was then unable to tell whether he had recovered from being frozen because Su Ming had closed his eyes or because he had freed himself from it. Even though that feeling just now had disappeared without a trace, Yu Chen Hai believed he absolutely had not mistaken what he sensed. There was definitely something abnormal about Su Ming, or else he would not have been able to make him lose his composure with just one glance. In fact, he had felt that his soul and his body had been separated from each other during that instant just then. If Su Ming had wanted to bring him harm, then Yu Chen Hai would have definitely been unable to fight back. He would have been at Su Ming's mercy. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead. When Yu Chen Hai looked at Su Ming again, wariness rose in his heart. As he wrapped his fist in his palm toward Su Ming, he lowered his head and said softly, "I lost my composure, thank you for waking me up, Brother Su." Yu Chen-hai might have been courteous with Su Ming earlier, but that courteous attitude had been one that was used between equals. However, when he spoke at that moment, even he did not notice that he had clearly placed himself at a lower position. Sometimes, there was no need for people to attack to show their strength. One glance and a few simple words would be enough to garner respect from others. "Sit," Su Ming said in that flat tone. Yu Chen-hai sucked in a deep breath and sat down cross-legged before Su Ming. In his eyes, Su Ming was now completely different. That calmness within him was one that would not be shaken even if the sky collapsed and the ground shattered. Yu Chen-hai could sense it incredibly well. "I have made a fool of myself. I made a promise to you earlier, but it made me come under the suspicion of the other branches of the family. They want to hold the 3 gates of heavenly Tao test on you, which only a few of even the true guests of the family would be able to pass. And they will definitely not allow you to pass the test. If it wasn't because the lineage with the family ancestors' blood mostly doesn't care about the matters in the world and have ventured in divine essence Star Ocean, these people wouldn't dare to oppress you in such a straightforward manner. They were so unfair, and that was what caused my anger," Yu Chen-hai explained with a bitter laugh. Dark clouds filled the sky at that moment. As the muffled sounds of thunder roared in the air, huge drops of rain poured down, causing dust fog to rise from the ground. However, before this dust fog could rise into the air, it was immediately struck back down once more, until no dust dared to rise up. Su Ming did not speak. He looked at the dust, watched the rain mercilessly pouring down from the sky, and witnessed the downfall of the dust fog. After some time, he cast his gaze at Yu Chen-hai. "What is fair, and what is unfair?" Su Ming asked calmly. "That is." Yu Chen-hai was momentarily stunned. "The height of mountains is not the same, hence it is unfair for them. The ground is not completely flat, hence it is also unfair. All manner of lives are not equal, so it is unfair for them as well. The length of the rivers is not the same, hence it is unfair for them too. Planets rise and fall, and even for galaxies, there is no such thing as equality. So then, how would you think of obtaining fairness? Fairness has never existed in the world. This so-called fairness is just a form of mercy from the strong to the weak. It's a form of self-pity of the weak as they bemoan their own fate," Su Ming said lightly. When those words landed in Yu Chen-hai's ears, his heart started trembling. This sort of theory and words overturned his way of thinking. They formed an impact that caused his breathing to become slightly quicker. "Look at the dust fog. The fog is like a person's life, and the might of heavens is like its life. The unknown is the rain, and when it falls onto the ground, the dust will first rise into the air, then will fall back." "Is this fair?" he asked flatly. Yu Chen-hai was momentarily stunned. When he turned his head back to look at the falling rain, he was silent for a moment, then looked like he had come to an understanding. The rain poured down from the sky without end, but there were several black spots in the horizon in the distance. Those were swallows that had not been able to find shelter from the rain in time. They struggled in the rain, and because their wings were drenched, it became incredibly difficult for them to fly, and they seemed as if they were about to plunge down at any moment. There was one swallow that flew to the area near the courtyard with great effort. Just as it was about to fall, Su Ming lifted his right hand and swung it in the air before him. Immediately, the swallow trembled, and its feathers were no longer wet. It was as if an empty space had appeared around it, preventing the rain from entering it, and so the falling body of the swallow drew a beautiful arc once again before it landed in the eaves of the courtyard around the tower where Su Ming stayed. This swallow seeks shelter in the rain, but the rain falls continuously, and it cannot fight against it. "Is this fair?" When Su Ming asked calmly, while Yu Chen-hai remained silent. "I helped it and allowed it to avoid falling in the rain, so it could hide under the eaves, but the other swallows do not share its serendipity. Is this fair?" Su Ming looked at Yu Chen-hai. "Brother Su, do you mean that I am the dust fog, and the older generation of my family is the rain that is the might of heavens? So when the rain falls to make me sink into the ground, this is unfair to me?" After a moment, Yu Chen-hai hesitated for a moment, then asked, "The swallows in the rain are also like the competitors in the Yu family?" "Brother Su, please give me a straight answer, what do you mean?" He was a little unclear of what Su Ming was thinking. He had some form of understanding in his heart, but it was not very clear. Su Ming's expression was calm. He did not answer Yu Chenhai's words, but instead lifted his right hand to seize the air in the direction of the eaves. Immediately, the swallow he had protected just now was captured and brought into his hand. The swallow did not dare to struggle, but it was shivering. I chose to help it instead of the other swallows because it was the closest to me, and because I liked this feather on its body. Su Ming lifted a feather from the swallow's body with his left hand. With a light tug, he plucked it off. There was a hint of blood at the root of the feather. He loosened his grip over the swallow, and it immediately flew back under the eaves while shivering non-stop. Su Ming looked at the feather in his left hand and brought it closer to Yu Chenhai. His face remained as impassive as ever, and not a hint of emotion could be detected on it. It was as if he was ruthless, but also gentle. When Yu Chenhai caught sight of it, his heart trembled. He sensed a hint of a devilish and mystifying air about Su Ming, and a chill ran down his spine. "Fellow Daoistu, do you still need my help?" Su Ming smiled faintly and brought the feather before Yu Chenhai. Yu Chenhai fell silent at the sight of that smile, but a moment later, he gritted his teeth and took the feather before standing up and bowing towards Su Ming. "If you can help me during the auction to become the most striking presents, then I am willing to become that swallow. If there is anything that you need, I will do my best to fulfill your wishes." As he smiled, Su Ming stood up and patted his clothes before walking towards the door to the courtyard. Fairness does not exist in the universe. The only things that exist are deals made under this unfair situation. Let's go. If they want to test me, then I will take the test. The 3 gates of heavenly Tao art weren't from the 4 great true worlds or even from sinful barren lands. Instead, it came from an alien race known as the Gate of Tao from Divine Essence Star Ocean. It's said that this is a divine ability unique to those of that race. They can bring up never-ending illusions, and there is only one main point to their art: as long as you believe it, it will exist. I don't know how to say this clearly either. The art and the materials to cast it were all obtained by coincidence by those of the older generation from Divine Essence Star Ocean. They could only activate it slightly after many years of research, and it is the test used for the guests who want to be promoted to guest elders within the Yu family. As long as they pass at least 1 gate, then they can become a guest elder. From what I remember, 5 guests have managed to pass the test. 4 of them managed to pass the first gate of Heavenly Tao, while only 1 managed to pass the second gate. There has never been a guest who passed the 3rd gate. The 3 gates of Heavenly Tao are also what the members of the Yu family must go through once they reach a certain level of cultivation. However, over the course of numerous years, only 11 people in the Yu family have passed the 1st and 2nd gates with different results. Progenitor UCI was the only one who passed through the 3rd gate 8,000 years ago. There were numerous towers all around them. In the mid of the area made indistinct by the rain, Su Ming walked in front while Yu Chenhai gave him directions from the side while describing the 3 gates of Heavenly Tao art. He was still worried, but he felt much better than before. He had originally thought that Su Ming would not accept the 3 gates Heavenly Tao test, and even if he accepted it, he would most likely not succeed. After all, there had been numerous guests within the Yu family over the years, but only 5 people had succeeded. Most of those did not care much about the world and would isolate themselves to meditate throughout the year. As for the guests who were more active in the family, none of them had managed to pass the 3 gates of Heavenly Tao and could not become guest elders. They could only remain as guests. However, the difference between the rights and resources of guests and guest elders could not be compared. The request from the older generation from the other lineages was a form of unconcealed suppression in Yu Chenhai's eyes, but he was unwilling to accept it. That was why when he went to Su Ming's place, he had been furious. Most of his sullenness had been just a show, though, his goal being stimulating Su Ming into taking the test. In fact, he had already prepared a series of words as a follow-up to continue stirring up his target. However, he did not expect that with just a few words and 1 gaze, Su Ming had caused his heart to tremble. It was as if everything had become different. Even though Su Ming agreeing to take the test was in alignment with his goal, the change in the process had left Yu Chenhai feeling like he was on the passive end. That faint ghostly smile Su Ming had while he plucked the feather off the swallow's body had especially shaken Yu Chenhai's heart. It was a devilish air that could not be described with words. He did not know whether it had been the right or the wrong decision to bring Su Ming to the Yu family. As complicated thoughts ran through his head, Su Ming's footsteps came to a halt. Yu Chen-hai immediately cast his thoughts away. Instinctively, he had brought Su Ming to an incredibly big square among the numerous towers. Almost at the instant the two of them arrived, the square distorted as if the universe was moving in reverse and the mountains as well as the rivers were moving. In an instant, the towers around them disappeared along with the square without a trace. What appeared before them was a tall mountain. That mountain towered over them. It did not look like a mountain, though, but a gigantic statue instead. The summit looked like a head which had long hair falling down its shoulders. It looked as a hideous, malicious spirit. The body of the mountain was its body, and it stood sideways to them. The right hand was lifted in the air, and there was a gigantic bat about to fly out on its palm. From the distance, it looked like a giant was looking down from the summit, half of its body revealed by the side. In fact, since the mountain was a mix of blue and white, it was not that different from the colors of the sky, and at first glance, it was as if the mountain and sky were one, so people might confuse the two as they looked up or straight before them. It was as if the mountain was there, but was not at the same time. What existed was only that gigantic, hideous ghost that had the side of its body turned towards them. This is Dao Avenue Mountain. At the instant Yu Chen-hai whispered that to Su Ming, several divine thoughts came from the mountain in an incredibly domineering manner. Without any hesitation, they pressed down on Su Ming with an awe-inspiring might that belonged to those who considered themselves superior. Cultivator from the world outside, it is your fortune to see Dao Avenue Mountain. Now kowtow 3 times to worship the mountain. Su Ming lifted his head, a freezing glare shining in his eyes. Chapter 864. Dao Avenue's voice. Even if I have yet to perfect my Dao, I am not in the habit of easily worshipping anyone. A freezing light shone in Su Ming's eyes. He let out a cold harumph before he took a step forward. Since he was going to take Yu family's test and wanted to blend into Black Ink Planet as fast as possible, he needed a pivot point. This pivot point was the Yu family and Yu Chen-hai. With them, he could step straight into the ranks of the cultivators of Black Ink Planet, and his status would also change to someone from the planet instead of an outsider. Once that happened, it would be easier for Su Ming to search for clues about the bald crane. It could also allow him to obtain more answers towards why the shamans were in this place. That was why Su Ming chose to help Yu Chen-hai. In the face of the provocation, he chose to no longer keep a low profile and instead decided to flaunt his abilities within a certain limit. With a cold snort, he took a step forward, and a powerful will erupted swiftly from his body with a bang. That will was born from Su Ming's soul, and it had nothing to do with his cultivation base. This was the monstrous will that had been born when he fought head-on against Yikang's will and forcefully possessed it. Will is born from the soul, and divine thought is born from cultivation base. These two are different, but in terms of nature, they are both without form, yet the will can create a mighty pressure. In terms of divine thought, Su Ming could not hope to fight against those that were pressing down on him, but in terms of will, these people were like the light of a firefly compared to Su Ming. They were overestimating their strength by daring to fight against the bright light of the moon. As Su Ming's will erupted forth, an invisible form of resistance swept through the area in all directions from where he was during that instant. The air around him distorted, and ripples spread out intensely from where he was. The one step Su Ming took forward caused the weather to change and the sky to dim. As booming sounds spread through the area, the divine thoughts that had come to push down on him immediately fell backwards. Yu Chen-hai was following behind Su Ming. Once he witnessed all this, his breathing quickened, and when he looked towards Su Ming, there was shock and extreme joy within his gaze. He had valued Su Ming greatly since the beginning, and after the scene with the swallow in the rain, he had also become respectful of him. However, all of these could not be compared to the shock he felt at the moment. After all, this was the first time he saw Su Ming attack. He knew clearly the levels of cultivation possessed by those of the older generation who had sent those divine thoughts towards Su Ming just now, and it was precisely because he knew of this that he had been shocked by his strength. Almost at the moment the divine thoughts around Su Ming tumbled backwards, low shouts immediately came from Dao Avenue Mountain. 5 figures turned into 5 long arcs and charged towards Su Ming. As they came over, divine abilities instantly manifested in the area, having been executed by the 5 people. Due to those abilities, people seemed like they had turned into sharp swords. Instantly, their killing intent spread out in all directions. Needless to say, once I perfect my Tao, you will not have the right to make me worship anything. Even this Tao Avenue mountain does not have the right to make me worship it, Su Ming said lightly and took a second step. At the instant he did so, the palm contained in his left eye shone. Boom! The sky changed, and a gigantic palm appeared and came charging down at the ground. This might have seemed to have occurred over a long period of time, but in truth, in the blink of an eye, that palm had already crashed into the 5 people's divine abilities. Boom! 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 Violent gusts of wind swept through the area, and the world trembled. The gigantic palm that Su Ming had formed disappeared into the sky, and a violent jolt wrecked the 5 people who were rushing towards him. Their bodies froze in midair for an instant, and they came to a complete halt. Their faces were then revealed. They were 5 old men whose gazes alternated between shock and bewilderment while their faces radiated sullenness. As for Su Ming, when booming sounds echoed in the air and the gigantic palm disappeared, he took 3 steps back. With each step, the ground would tremble, and when he took his 3rd step back, a dash of red appeared on his cheeks. 3 of the 5 were at the peak of the middle stage of World Plane, 1 had attained great completion of the middle stage, and the last of them was even halfway through to reaching the later stage. The combined attack of these 5 people was equivalent to an attack of a cultivator in the later stage of World Plane realm. It might have seemed like Su Ming had gotten the short end of the stick, but the shock Yu Chen-hai experienced was incomparable. He clearly knew that the 5 people from the older generation in his family had worked together to fight against Su Ming's divine ability. They might have seemed to have gained the upper hand, but in truth, it was only on the surface. While Su Ming might have stepped back, he had not been injured in the slightest, and it was a telling sign of how strong he was. When Yu Chen-hai saw that the 5 people from the older generation had become wary of Su Ming while they remained in midair with sullen expressions on their faces, a myriad of thoughts flickered through his mind. He then took a few steps forward and immediately spoke. Progenitors, what is the meaning of this? You were the ones who mentioned that you wanted to test Senior Su. Now that I've brought our guest here, you're preventing him from taking it. I might be of the younger generation in the family, but I do know that there is a clear mention of this within the rules of our family. As Yu Chen-hai spoke, he addressed Su Ming as a senior. While keeping a low profile, he intentionally raised Su Ming's status. As his words echoed in the air coldly, the 5 people in the sky let out cold harumphs. Hesitance had appeared in their hearts due to Su Ming's strength, which was why they had decided to use what Yu Chen-hai had said as an excuse to not attack. An old man with white hair among them cast Su Ming a profound look before he pointed towards Tao Avenue Mountain. Sir, since you want to challenge the 3 gates of Heavenly Mountain, then by all means go on ahead. This place is the 1st gate. Su Ming had already used his power to demonstrate his level of cultivation, and it was a strength that left these 5 people apprehensive. They were no longer willing to continue making things difficult for him, much less mention the matter about wanting him to worship the mountain earlier. To them, Su Ming challenging the 3 gates of Heavenly Tao was an extremely conceited act. Over the course of years, very few people had succeeded within the Yu family. Even if he had extraordinary power, there had been others who had even higher levels of cultivation who had tried to challenge the 3 gates of Heavenly Da. In the end, there were only a few who succeeded, which was a telling sign that the deciding factor for clearing the 3 gates of Heavenly Tao did not lay in a person's level of cultivation. In fact, they could already imagine how this person would walk out of Tao Avenue Mountain in an incredibly pathetic state before long. At that time, he would naturally know what it means to overestimate and humiliate oneself. Su Ming cast a cold glance at Tao Avenue Mountain. This Tao Avenue Mountain originally did not belong to the Yu family, but is something that came from Divine Essence Star Ocean. One of the progenitors of our family had brought it back in the past. It has another name. Tao Avenue receives bats. That is the name for the 1st gate of the 3 gates of Heavenly Tao. There is a 2nd gate after the 1st, and it is known as the sun and moon shines together. Senior, I will have to ask for your favor in this. Yu Chen-hai sucked in a deep breath and bowed deeply towards Su Ming. Su Ming's expression remained calm. He averted his gaze from Dao Avenue Mountain and cast Yu Chen-hai a glance before he spoke flatly. It doesn't matter what sort of thoughts you harbor in your head, but do not forget the swallow's feather. Once he said that, he swung his arm and walked towards Dao Avenue Mountain. He moved swiftly, like a rainbow, and in an instant, he arrived at the mountain, then flew straight into the gaping mouth of the hideous ghost's face that was the summit. Su Ming's words echoed in Yu Chen-hai's ears, and his heart froze. The voice seemed to have turned into a brand in his mind and refused to leave even after a long time. In the end, it turned into a purplish-gold runic symbol that was left behind deep within his mind in the mid of his shock. It seemed like an illusion, but also felt real, and he could not distinguish whether it was real or fake. As Su Ming disappeared into Dao Avenue Mountain, the 5 old men from Yu family sat down cross-legged in the sky and completely ignored Yu Chen-hai. No one else came to this place, they were the only ones in the area. Originally, challenging the 3 gates of heavenly Dao was a huge matter in Yu family. But as time passed and almost every single person who tried failed, it gradually turned into a decoration. If it had not been because the rules in the family stated that each member of the family must challenge the mountain once in their lives, and if it was not the only path for guests to become guest elders, no one would even remember the existence of the 3 gates of heavenly Dao. Because of that, Su Ming's challenge of them that should have caught the Yu family's attention only had a few people watching. This person will definitely fail and walk out within 3 days. We just need to wait here for 3 days. 3 days? Even if he has extraordinary power, there were only a few, both from the guests and the family, who could last for more than 10 days in the first gate. Some managed to continue to 7 days, but most failed with a day, or even a half. This person can at most last 1 day. True. Based on past experiences, those who last for more than 10 days are considered to have passed the first gate, and Dao Avenue's voice will speak up, but since ancient times, very few have succeeded. This person had been really conceited just now. I wonder if he will still act the same way when he comes out. As the 5 people spoke with cold sneers on their faces, Yu Chen-hai sat in the distance quietly and watched Dao Avenue Mountain with his heart filled with nervousness. He hoped that Su Ming would succeed, and that hope turned into a great desire in his heart. As Yu Chen-hai waited, time trickled by. 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours. Half a day passed. The expectation in Yu Chen-hai's eyes grew stronger. As his heart pounded against his chest, he kept his gaze fixed on Dao Avenue Mountain. Gradually, when an entire day passed, the 5 old men's expressions changed, but they were still certain that Su Ming would not last for more than 3 days in the first gate. However, this certainty in their hearts was shaken slightly when the second day passed. This person is quite remarkable. He actually managed to stay in there for 2 days, but he should be struggling in there right now. He won't last for more than 3 days. HMPH. This is the strangeness of the first gate. The longer a person stays in there, the more changes will occur. Didn't we also last for nearly 3 days in the past? Just watch, when the sun sets tomorrow, this person will be unable to persevere. When the 3rd day passed, the excitement in Yu Chen-hai's heart had already reached its limit. Red filled his eyes, and his body trembled lightly. At that moment, it was as if there was a voice shouting excitedly in his heart. You have to succeed. Yu Chen-hai's breathing quickened. Compared to his excitement, the expressions of the 5 men had turned incredibly dark. That dark mood of theirs turned into shock and disbelief when the 4th day passed. At that time, they stood up swiftly. This was because a shrill voice that was like the screech of a malicious ghost spread out in all directions from Dao Avenue Mountain. This voice came from the ghost's mouth, and it hadn't been heard for several thousands of years. This voice was Dao Avenue's voice, and it meant that someone had cleared the first gate of heavenly Dao. Dao Avenue's voice. This is impossible. The 5 people's disbelief and Yu Chen-hai's indescribable shock as well as extreme joy after being momentarily stunned became increasingly stronger as the ghost's voice echoed in the air. At that moment, the weather changed and roars rose into the sky. All the members of the Yu family heard the ghost's voice no matter what they were doing. In fact, some of the old monsters in the family that isolated themselves throughout the year to train opened their eyes. In the span of a breath, numerous silhouettes charged over to Dao Avenue Mountain from all directions. Chapter 865. But in 4 days, Su Ming had made this sort of sound come out from Dao Avenue Mountain. This was something that had never happened before in the Yu family. Most of those who cleared the first gate could only cause Dao Avenue's voice to shout out after they had lasted for 10 days. Even the only progenitor who had cleared all 3 gates of heavenly Dao within the Yu family had used 7 days to bring out this sound. When the voice rang out once again, it immediately caused a ruckus within the entire Yu family. The silhouettes of people charged towards the place from all directions, and the 5 old men in the area sported changes in their expressions. The shock in their hearts caused their breathing to quicken slightly. Only Yu Qianhai clenched his fists excitedly. Who managed to clear the first gate out of the 3 gates of heavenly Dao? At that moment, a buzzing sound reached them, and along with it was the first member of the Yu family who had rushed over. He was a middle-aged man who had a fair complexion and had no facial hair. He was dressed in a long grey robe, and his long hair was untied. He appeared from the air to stand before the 5 old men. These 5 people immediately stood up and wrapped their fists in their palms to bow towards the middle-aged man. "Greetings, third family elder," the 5 people said at the same time as respect appeared on their faces. They might all be members of the Yu family, and the middle-aged man before their eyes did not seem to be as old as they were, but these 5 people knew that the middle-aged man's true age was not to be known. Several thousands of years ago, this person had appeared before them with this appearance. Now, thousands of years had passed, but he remained the same as he did in the past. Besides, even if they were older than he was, they would still have to be respectful towards him. It was especially so since this middle-aged man looked almost identical to a certain ancestor within the family ancestral hall, which they would see every single time when they held the ceremony to offer sacrifices to their ancestors once every 60 years. Even if this was not mentioned, just his status alone would similarly be able to make these 5 people unable to regard themselves as his equals. They had to be respectful towards him because he was the 3rd family elder of the Yu family. That was why he was known as the 3rd family elder. In the face of the middle-aged man's questions, the 5 people hesitated for a moment after they greeted him, but then still answered in low murmurs, not daring to hide anything. The child of the family, Qianhai, tried to obtain the support of somebody, and he agreed to come to this place to go through the 3 gates of heavenly Dao to test. When has the Yu family ever needed our temporary guests to challenge the 3 gates of heavenly Dao when the children of our family try to bring them to our side? When the middle-aged man spoke lightly, he cast his gaze towards Yu Qianhai, who had stood up a long time ago and had a respectful expression on his face. "Greetings, third family elder." Yu Qianhai was feeling slightly anxious. With his rank in the family, he could not meet this middle-aged man on normal occasions. He could only see him in the distance when they held the ceremony to offer sacrifices to their ancestors. At that moment, he quickly knelt down on the ground. Oppressing others and fighting among the lineages. This is the interaction between all of you in the younger generation. I will not interfere with this, but using the 3 gates of heavenly Dao. The 5 of you, after this, go and isolate yourselves. Do not let me see you for 1,000 years, the middle-aged man said flatly, then directed his attention to Yu Qianhai before speaking languidly towards him. You are a descendant of Yu Mai's blood, correct? Third family elder, I am indeed a descendant of progenitor Yu Mai. Yu Qianhai did not dare get up as he answered in a low murmur. Tell me what happened. The middle-aged man placed his hands behind his back and looked at Dao Avenue Mountain as he waited for Yu Qianhai's words. Yu Qianhai quickly told him the entire process of how he came to know Su Ming, from the start right to the end. As he spoke, other people came one after another from all directions. When they saw the middle-aged man, looks of respect appeared on their faces and they bent their backs to greet him. When Yu Qianhai finished speaking, there were nearly 100 members of Yu family in the area. They had surrounded the 2 of them while listening to Yu Qianhai recounting his tale. The middle-aged man's expression remained as calm as before while he listened. When the tale was finished, he asked, "What is the name of the temporary guest you tried to bring to your side?" "His name is Su Ming," Yu Qianhai immediately answered in a low voice. Su Ming. The middle-aged man didn't say anything more, but kept his gaze fixed on Dao Avenue Mountain. Within 4 days, you managed to make Dao Avenue's voice appear. How did you do it? I wonder if you will fail after this, or you will be able to make the spirit bat fly after a few days to bring out the second gate's phenomenon of the sun and moon shining at the same time." The middle-aged man remained calm as he spoke softly. He seemed to be mumbling to himself, but also seemed as if he was talking to the others beside him. Time trickled by. The third family elder's presence in the place caused Yu Chenhai to be incredibly nervous, and it was the same for the other members of the family. Even the noise of the discussions wasn't present, so the place fell into a dead silence. Oi! Su Ming was sitting on an unbroken chain of mountains. When he looked over the area, he saw boundless land. Mountains rose and fell, and there were valleys everywhere as well as pieces of flatland. Over here, he forgot the flow of time. He looked at the sky calmly, and the sun, moon, and stars in his eyes spun. The illusionary art he had come to understand on his own was executed to its limit during the past few days. However, he still could not prevent his body from rotting away and being slowly destroyed. Most of his body, which was still in a seated position, had already decayed, to the point that there were only bones left. From the moment Su Ming stepped into Dao Avenue Mountain, he had been sitting cross-legged in this place without moving. He did not sense any danger in this boundless world, and it was as if there was no threat that lay in this place. However, he did not move an inch, because the ground, mountains, flatlands, valleys, and everything here had caused his heart to tremble at the moment he first saw them upon his arrival. He was definitely the first cultivator who had recognized what this place was at first glance among all those who had challenged the first gate of Dao Avenue Mountain. He recognized what this place was, because several years ago, he had seen the same thing with his own eyes when he was in the region where the forces of power from true sacred Yin world were stationed. It was also because of this thing chasing after his life that the 10 Ikang souls had burst forth from Western Ring Nebula's foreign land to fight against it in a great battle. A master of fate, lives, and death. The ground beneath his body was the palm of a master of fate, lives, and death. The mountain ranges were the palm lines, the flatlands were the empty spaces between the palm lines, and the valleys were the crevices caused by those palm lines. However, this land was even bigger than the one he had seen in the past. This made Su Ming remember the gigantic statue of the mountain when he was outside Dao Avenue Mountain, the existence that was akin to a ferocious ghost and the huge bat that could not fly out from its right hand. The bat's color was black, just like the color of his body as he continued decaying. "As long as you believe it, it will exist," Su Ming mumbled. These were the words Yu Chenhai had told him. It was what the Yu family had concluded based on the experiences they obtained. However, even if people learned of it beforehand, it was still of little use. There were very few from the Yu family who managed to clear the first gate. There is a power that I've never come into contact with before surrounding this place. This power is very strong, and it's great enough to exist together with the universe. Su Ming said softly as his body continued rotting away. As he spoke, the bones in the places they had decayed started disintegrating. From the distance, he looked as if he had turned into a bat that could not fly out from a palm.